She's fighting against the pricks. She's mad because Chris and Carmen sat out long enough that now they're going to have to vote for a trustee rather than her appoint a trustee. She doesn't want that. The people are not going to vote for the person that she wanted. She knows that. So now she's stuck in a catch-22. So she's going to come back in January, and they're going to have to have a real election, and people are going to have to really voice for a real trustee. That's going to be wild. So I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. I'll drop that video on the channel as well. Can y'all do me a favor though? Besides hitting the like button and jumping into the best live chat on the internet, can y'all do me a favor in the chat? Can y'all just spam the word Paul? Can y'all just write Paul in the chat? I mean, I just want to see Paul's name just flooding up in the chat, if you don't mind, because with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got Mr. Paul Robertz in the building. How are you, Paul?
Doing well. And you?
Quite well, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I wanted to get a little running start. I know we said 8 o'clock, but I said, I want to talk about this whole government shutdown thing. I said, let me start a little early. Paul won't want to jump in, but Paul jumped in because I got my text message from you. My goodness, my email rather from you. Paul has a lot to say about it. Yes, I did.
I meant to send it 2 hours earlier. I was embarrassed when I saw the screen and hadn't sent it yet.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Now, if everybody, let's just say real quick that let's say and pretend that my audience doesn't know who this esteemed gentleman, Mr. Paul Robertz, is. Paul Robertz, who are you?
Just a resident of Thornton Township.
I love it.
I'm not elected. I've lived here 6.5 years in Lansing, Illinois.
Okay.
Just about as many people know my wife, Jennifer, as know me. I grew up in St. Peter, Minnesota. My grandfather painted the painting that's behind. He was Swedish. Nice.
What brought you to Dalton?
I have a hard time describing who I am.
That's okay. I got the questions for you, my friend. So, Paul, what brought you to Dalton? You seem like what appealed or what brought you to Dalton? And you said just 6 years ago. So were you somewhere else and then moved there?
Actually, something brought me to Dalton about 15 years ago.
Okay, I love it.
My best friend from grade school is practically my twin.
Okay.
Our dads were both college professors at the same school. Our mothers were both twins named Marilyn, and my best friend was also named Paul. When I was in graduate school and I wasn't too thrilled with the program, he invited me to move to Chicago to match buyers and sellers of used computers in the late 1980s. I thought he was crazy, but 6 months later, I took him up on his offer. So I moved to Chicago and helped him run a computer shop for a dozen years. And I've always dealt with used computers, trying to make a little money off of someone else's computer trash.
I understand.
Well, in 2009, I was hired by a computer recycler in Dalton, and I worked there for a couple of years. But I've never lived in Dalton.
Okay.
A lot of people think that I do, but I live in Lansing, Illinois.
Right.
The reason that Jennifer and I moved to Lansing was on Halloween 2017. Our youngest son was shot right outside of his high school.
Oh, wow.
And we were looking for police, and they were all surrounding the mayor of Chicago eating at a fancy restaurant.
Wow.
But, once we found them, they dressed the wound, but Jennifer was worried about violence in Chicago.
For sure.
And our neighborhood was getting very congested and expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a brother and a sister who live in the south suburbs. She wanted to get closer to family, and we thought we could sell our condo for a much bigger house in a nicer neighborhood, and we did.
I love it.
the reason that we chose Lansing is Lansing is a more diverse community than most of the suburbs, most of the south suburbs.
Gotcha.
We looked at Matson, we looked at Olympia Fields, Flossmoor, and Country Club Hills. We ended up choosing Lansing for several reasons.
Okay.
I mentioned diversity, but another big one was property taxes. Property taxes in Lansing are relatively lower than what they are in the surrounding suburbs.
Gotcha.
And I thought that that was a symptom of, a professionally run local government. And that pretty much turns out to be the case. Yesterday, a friend from Harvey sent me her property tax bill, and the village of Harvey takes up 38% of her property taxes. Village of Lansing takes up about 18.5% of my property taxes.
Man. So you were in Chicago doing computer work.
Right.
Got recruited to Lansing area. I got to stop saying Dalton. You're actually a resident of the township of Thornton. So you got recruited, if you will, to Thornton. Found a beautiful home, raising your family and all that. Do I have you correct?
Right.
Love it. All right. So you're here, you said about 6 years ago. So that's about 2018, 2019.
Exactly. 2018.
And everything's going okay. And all of a sudden, just like out of the blue, something happened. a phenomenon that everybody knows. It is the tornado that we call Tiffany Henyard. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like before Lady Henyard came into the rule and reign?
Tiffany Henyard loves to tell everyone that when she became supervisor, only about 20% of the people living here were aware that there was a Thornton Township with services for the residents. And now she says it's 80. I think it's probably 100.
Wow. Yeah, it's global. Y'all are global, my friend.
Townships were irrelevant to me when we moved here.
I agree.
My upstairs neighbor in Chicago taught in Lansing, and she would bring home banker boxes that said Frank Zuccarelli, supervisor of Thornton Township. And that's the only way that I knew that there was a Thornton Township, and I knew who the supervisor was.
Wow.
He didn't put his picture on those boxes.
It was picture on them.
He was much smaller than Tiffany's name on everything. But,
right.
He was very popular. I never met him. After we had lived here a year or so, I got something in the mail saying that I could apply for a property tax refund because the township had a surplus.
Okay.
And I did. Everyone worked with the assessor, and I ended up getting a check for $123.
Whoa, that's two lattes at Starbucks, man.
He would do that regularly when the township had a surplus.
Okay.
When I first met the township assessor, I told her that story, and I said that what got me interested in the township was all of the advertising that came to my mailbox, always with Tiffany's picture. Then she put up billboards on the expressway.
Yep.
And I wondered, what is Thornton Township's advertising budget, and will we ever see a surplus again? And I've been trying to find real numbers for surplus or deficit ever since.
I want to talk about something here, and you can maybe help us out. A lot of the people in the chat live somewhere else besides, we call ourselves the undocumented Thornton residents.
Right.
Okay? So I'm an undocumented Thornton resident. Can you explain to us why pretty much everything that Tiffany talks about as it relates to Thornton is always basically a form of welfare? Is there something that we're missing? Because I live here in Georgia and we don't do that. I've never heard somebody lead with, hey, by the way, I'm going to give you a tax refund. I'm going to give you a Thanksgiving box, or I'm going to give you a toy drive. Why is that? What is that about?
Well, she should be saying we, not I. And that's part of the tragedy. But yeah, in 30 of the 50 states, there aren't any townships. And so we need to revisit, why is there a township? In some states, they were established originally to give away unclaimed farmland to qualified farmers, to homesteaders.
Wow, okay.
That hasn't been the case here.
Yeah, we haven't got farmland.
Been around since 1850, and the Lansing Journal recently published a very good history of the township. This is not the first time that people have questioned whether the township really should exist or not. I think there were referenda in 1992 and 1997. But to my understanding, a township exists just to provide services to the residents that are not provided by the village, the county, or the state. So basically, it is a welfare agency.
Okay, thank you.
It's funded primarily with property taxes, but township does get grants from the state. And if they have investment accounts, that generates income. But basically, it's taking tax dollars and recirculating them to the residents in ways that are not provided by the villages, county, or state.
So, like a perfect example is the tree removal. We've heard many board meetings where they're talking about tree removal. So that would be something that Tiffany is taking care of. I'm using that very loosely. Or you all basically are taking care of removing people's trees and getting them chopped up and whatnot.
Thornton Township is not in that business.
Right. But I've heard it. Well, I've heard Dalton. Yeah, you're right. I apologize. And I am getting them mixed up. I'm gonna put myself in a penalty box every time I say Dalton instead of Thornton. But it does seem like there's lots of things, like, again, for example, the food pantry and the Thanksgiving baskets. Like she's a big proponent of that. Is it because you all don't have a lot of grocery stores?
No.
You have grocery stores.
We have a lot of food pantries too.
Really?
There's a good one here in Lansing. My brother-in-law is the pastor of a church in Harvey. Okay. And Jennifer and I volunteered a little bit of time at his food pantry this last Saturday.
Really? Okay. The way it's presented to us, I almost would think that you had no grocery stores, no Jewels, no Eagles, no Publix, nothing up there.
Oh, Lansing has a Walmart.
Really?
We're right on the border, so we do a lot of shopping in Munster, Indiana.
Okay.
But yeah, South Holland has a Jewel.
Okay.
It's not exactly a food desert here.
Oh, the way I thought you all were in the middle of the Sahara. The way, the way she's always giving away, she's leading with, a Thanksgiving basket, then a Christmas basket. I'm expecting like an MLK Day basket or a Valentine's Day love basket. I'm expecting, literally, that's all I hear her talking about is giving away stuff. Very rarely do I hear things that sound empowering, like, hey, we're doing like an entrepreneurial drive or small business expo, anything like that. Very seldom hear that kind of stuff. That would something of me taking care of myself and take care of my own families and responsibilities. So she's painted this picture that has us thinking that y'all are just like literally one grocery store and one food pantry.
Oh, the way she talks makes you think that everyone living in the township depends on her for bus rides and food boxes.
That part right there. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's tackle it. I remember the first time I met you. I'm using that word figuratively. Mm-hmm. You were at a board meeting and you had and you've even expressed it here in this conversation here. You've thought about the things that you're talking about, and you were asking. I don't remember offhand what it was specifically that you were talking about, but I remember seeing a man of less melanin in a sea of highly melanated people very clearly and articulately. And I remember Kamal Woods did not like that you were being so clear and so direct, that he came and got close to you after you got done speaking. Tell me, what is it that you see as the biggest issue with Thornton Township?
The biggest issue is that it's become much more than a welfare agency.
Okay.
If it served its purpose, administrators would be calculating efficiency, trying to make sure that as many tax dollars get recirculated to the residents at a minimal administrative cost. But for some reason, the major political parties run the elections for township, and township supervisor has become a coveted prize.
Yeah.
And there are political battles in the township that are really unnecessary.
Okay.
Thornton Township's slogan is people working with people. And I think that's the idea of what it should be.
Right.
But now it's synonymous with Tiffany Henyard. For 28 years before her, it was synonymous with Frank Zuccarelli. Now, he was a benevolent dictator. And because he was so generous and because he treated everyone fairly, no matter which parents they chose.
Right.
He kept getting reelected. And
I love it.
There weren't very many investigations into his affairs.
Do you think it's Tiffany Henyard's issue and this administration's issue? Because she's not doing this alone. There are lots of people that are equally as complicit in her wrongdoing as she is, in my opinion. Do you think it's because of her? Is she just greedy? Is she uneducated? Is she in over her head? Like, what do you think is the reason for why she's in this trouble?
All of the above. But many people have pointed out that when she was first appointed, we all gave her the benefit of the doubt. And we thought, yeah, this will be interesting. She's young, energetic. Let's see what a different perspective in the supervisor's chair will bring. But she had already been mayor of Dalton for about a year. Mm-hmm. And once she realized she had these two positions, she told everyone that God had planned this for her. And she called herself the most powerful woman in the South suburbs. That's when she invented the name super mayor. Oh my gosh. And a lot of people say that she became a lot worse after she was appointed supervisor. She just got power drunk. She had a board of trustees who would rubber stamp anything that she wanted, except for the trustee who appointed her.
Yes.
It took him a couple of months to realize his mistake.
I hate to say it, but when I watched an interview with him on the Lansing Journal, I really think he said it like within a few days. He's like, what have we done?
Yep.
Yeah. So shout out to Chris Gonzalez. We've forgiven Chris. We've forgiven Chris. I did a video looking at the fact that he's the man behind Tiffany Henyard, but he recognized he made a tragic error. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and I understand his his thought behind suggesting that Tiffany be the supervisor, especially as they were ticking down to the 11th hour. But shout out to Chris Gonzalez for sure. Now that is a very interesting story.
He's realized the error of his ways in more ways than one.
Facts.
He doesn't simply regret nominating her. He regrets putting in any nomination in the 11th hour.
Right.
Now he and Carmen Carlisle are insistent that the people get a chance to elect their next temporary trustee.
So let's talk about that, by the way. So, and thank you for even getting into that part of the discussion. So a lot of people didn't know about this whole reason why Chris and Carmen were not coming to the board meetings. And I just played that video clip that kind of explained it. The news had not really been talking about it until literally probably yesterday. had not heard the news really explain why the trustees weren't coming to the board meeting. But now we know it more clearly. Who was it that she was? Can you explain a little bit? Like, what was she seeking to do?
Well, the trustee who resigned in October had been in office for over 10 years. And he hoped to be appointed supervisor. And because he was on Frank Zuccarelli's board, he was used to rubber stamping what the supervisor wanted.
For sure.
But then in April of this year, the feds dropped subpoenas, and he and Carmen Carlisle and a bunch of other people found their names in the subpoena.
Right.
So they started to do the right thing. And that angered Tiffany. Tiffany would browbeat both of them she would twist their arms to vote the way that she wanted them to. But eventually, Trustee Jones just got tired of being a trustee. I don't know if he was blackmailed or anyway, he resigned October 7th with a letter that the clerk received the same night. It was right after a Dalton meeting. The next day, a township meeting was scheduled, and Tiffany mentioned his resignation. There wasn't a quorum, but there was never any vote on whether they had accepted Jerry Jones's resignation.
Correct.
And every meeting after that, Tiffany put on the agenda nomination and swearing in of a new trustee.
Yep.
And we had a pretty good idea what type of a person she would appoint as a trustee.
So it wasn't going to be you, Paul? You don't think you would have been, you wouldn't have got come on, Paul. I think you would have got the nod. She said, oh, we need Paul here. He's a clear thinker. You don't think it would have been you? I hate to say it. I think it would have been Keith, what's his name?
No.
Really?
Most people were saying Michael Smith.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, for sure. Never mind. Yeah.
But anyway, because there were only 3 trustees, and the one Tiffany loyalist who is not named in the subpoenas still votes regularly with Tiffany, Darlene Gray Everett.
Yep. So
everyone thought that Tiffany would have someone in mind. Darlene would vote yes for that person. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle would vote no, and the tie-breaking vote goes to the clerk, who seems to be in Tiffany's camp.
Gotcha.
And that's why they avoided meetings.
Gotcha. So, if you don't mind, do you know anything? Can you shed any light on all of these? Again, the FBI, the Lori Lightfoot investigation. There's so many small little fires. You just wonder, like, which one of them is going to blaze up and actually become the huge dumpster fire that we know this is. Do you have any insight on those?
No.
Like, where's the FBI? We're looking for you.
Lori Lightfoot's investigation was initiated by the Dalton trustees.
That's fair, and I did it again.
At one meeting last spring, Jason House said, yeah, we asked the Attorney General, the Cook County State Attorney, any law enforcement agency that we can get to initiate an investigation into Tiffany Henyard and her cronies. None of them took the suggestion, and so they decided to hire Lori Lightfoot. And by that time, the trustees didn't have any financial data.
Right.
The finance manager in Dalton quit in May, and Lori Lightfoot could get numbers only from a private accountant in Calumet City, who does similar work in a lot of surrounding suburbs. But then he gave up on Tiffany.
Wow.
A few months ago, one of the last Dalton board meetings in the small village hall. The trustees asked him to come to a regular board meeting so they could have some financial data. But Tiffany called him on his cell phone when he was out in the parking lot and told him never to come back to Village Hall again. So once Lori Lightfoot lost this accountant's data, she didn't have a lot of numbers to work off.
Wow.
Thornton Township's finances are just as murky because they use the same accountant as Dalton. Now, in April, we had our annual township meeting, and the finance director in Thornton Township published an annual financial report. The same accountant who Tiffany kicked out of Dalton refused to audit the Thornton Township financial statement.
Why?
He didn't want to put his name on books that were cooked that much.
Oh, it was cooking too much.
The annual township meeting. Yeah, the annual township meeting is very unusual. It's like no other Thornton Township meeting. The supervisor doesn't have any more authority than I do, or my wife, or any registered voter in the township.
How about me?
People elect a moderator.
Okay.
And but one of the first orders of business is to approve the annual report. So her finance guy just stood at the podium and read numbers for like 10 minutes. People got
I think I've seen this. Yes, I think I saw that. He's a very young guy.
You probably saw him reading all of the bills from Calumet Bakery, which is a few.
Yeah. Okay.
That was but this was back in April.
I got you. Yeah, I think that's when I saw.
People complained that we're asked to vote on a big complicated document that we've never seen. We didn't have a chance to review it. The clerk never put it online. And I think that the electors of Thornton Township voted to reject the annual report. But then Tiffany was sitting up at the front table right next to the clerk. I saw her stand up and look at all these pieces of paper out in the audience, and she was counting, and she told the clerk what the vote was, and the clerk said that it was accepted.
Wow.
So
wow,
now,
really?
Now the township's accountant refuses to put his name on that annual report. It was on the township's website, but they've taken it down now.
Okay.
And the Lansing Journal did an article about this last week.
So with all of the problems going on in Dalton, besides, well, maybe not besides, what would you say would be something that would really start moving Thornton in the right direction? What would it be besides the most obvious?
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen before inauguration of a new supervisor in May.
Gotcha.
It would be nice if the FBI's investigation was complete and they could arrest the supervisor and some of the others named in the subpoenas.
Okay.
But we can't even make an educated guess as to when that'll happen for obvious reasons.
Yeah, clearly. I agree with you 100%.
But it would be wonderful if the people could choose their next trustee.
Okay,
and
I got you.
If that trustee could work with the other trustees just to start rebuilding Thornton Township. A couple of months ago, they did vote for a forensic audit.
Right.
The IRS may have done that already. It'd be wonderful if the IRS could prevent us with financial data next month.
Oh my gosh.
But the taxpayers may have to pay for a forensic audit.
Yeah.
Tiffany wanted a forensic audit on just the credit card spending for Trustee Carmen Carlisle and Keith Freeman, even though most of their credit card spending was for her.
Right.
I've been able to get credit card statements, and I've unleashed a few embarrassments there.
I love it. All right. So let's jump back in time about 3 weeks ago, 3 Tuesdays ago, to what I affectionately call the rockus caucus.
Oh,
what did you think about that? Be honest.
Desired result, definitely.
Okay.
Almost everyone there wanted Tiffany to be removed, but not everyone there wanted her to be removed at all costs.
Okay.
I think it was legal. Election laws in Illinois gives great power to the Democratic committeeman and the Republican committeeman. They have a whole bunch of options for procedural rules. And the first order of business is for the electors in the room to vote on the procedural rules. But yeah, so it was legal. I don't think it was ethical. I think that they should have rented out a much bigger room.
For sure.
And they definitely should have had one with a PA system. My wife and I couldn't hear what was going on. We heard some people shouting, why don't you have a microphone?
Right.
And at the same time, Napoleon Harris was explaining what the rules are. And he put them all together in one sentence. We didn't know what we were voting on, but we heard a whole bunch of people say yay. Then we heard the gavel, and he said, "That's it for the rules."
I tell people that's the most Chicago thing I ever saw in my life. Go ahead.
I didn't know what the rules were until about 9 days later when I saw them on YouTube on something that Hannibal is Hungry did.
Shout out to Hannibal. I love it. Okay. Well, you know what, Paul? I'm here to let you know that actually you were nominated during that. You didn't hear it, but we heard
what?
it. So, yeah, you were nominated.
No, you're kidding. No, I didn't.
We nominate Paul. Say again.
I didn't qualify by their rules. The one that Hannibal showed said that everyone on the slate had to attend at least 5 Democrat of Thornton Township events in the previous 6 months.
Right.
Now, if it had been in the last year, I would have qualified. Or if it had been in the first half of the year, I would have qualified.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you would have got our votes for sure. You would have got our vote for sure.
I met Carmen Carlisle right before it started, and she didn't know if she was going to be nominated. She didn't know if the public would have a chance to make nominations,
right? Whether
it be slate or individual, and obviously Tiffany didn't know either.
Right. So let me ask you this: where do you see any of those lawsuits coming to fruition to get her back on the ballot at all, or do you feel like no, she's off that ballot?
The only question is whether the county clerk will allow her votes as a write-in candidate.
Got it.
Because there's been a law on the books for many years saying that if a candidate participates in a caucus and is defeated, then they cannot file to be a write-in candidate. And I've been an election judge for a few years, and I know that if you don't file as a write-in candidate, you're not on the list, and they're not going to count your vote.
Oh, so the people can't just write my name in there.
No.
I have to file to be.
Every year I see people write in Mickey Mouse, but
Really?
Mickey Mouse never filed with the county
Mickey Mouse
clerk.
needs to file.
Right.
Get out of here. Okay, so dog, I should have filed because so now everybody that was going to write DWC, they wasting their vote. Good night. Okay. Wow. Okay. No, thank you very much. That makes a lot of sense. So,
but
do you
she
feel
might be able to? She might still be able to get her write-in votes counted. because there's some disagreement about whether she participated in the caucus. She was definitely defeated in the caucus. But,
we saw that. We enjoyed that.
But she never submitted her declaration of candidacy in writing to the committee that organized the caucus.
So wouldn't that mean that she didn't participate?
Yeah, you didn't ask to be invited, so you're not invited.
That's why they locked the doors on you. They didn't know you was coming. You didn't tell us you were coming.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Did you see her while she was in there?
Yeah. We saw her before the caucus started.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Tiffany Cares is still on their website and still taking donations. That's crazy.
They haven't declared any for 2024.
See, I knew that you would know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Friends of Tiffany Henyard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tiffany Cares was prohibited from taking any donations by the Attorney General early in the year.
Now they did that. Why don't they prohibit her from causing all this chaos? That's what they need to prohibit her from doing. Okay, so you feel like the raucous caucus was legitimate. It was legal. I'm sorry. It was legal. And I think both of us agreed. I thought he finessed them. I said that Napoleon Harris finessed his way. He finessed them, but
he used a lot of Tiffany's own tactics.
Right. Absolutely.
Using a room that was too small.
Facts.
With a faulty sound system, and admitting your supporters early to get the prime seats.
That was some good Chicago politics right there.
Mm-hmm.
And fed them, so they were kind of like in a comatose state anyway. They didn't want to get up and move. Just sit down. No, I agree. I thought that was I thought he finessed her. Whether I liked it or not, I think the outcome was exactly what we needed, or what you all needed. So as you're looking at, do you mind looking over into Dalton? I know you're not a Dalton resident, but how do you feel like that's going over there with Mr. House and his team?
I'm much more optimistic about Dalton than I am about Thornton Township.
Really?
Yeah.
You got my attention now. Let's go.
Because I've spoken to everyone who's on the Clean House 2025 campaign. My wife and I met them all back in March.
Okay.
And they're all very approachable.
Okay.
In fact, my wife and I just went to Kiana Belcher's birthday party this last weekend.
I did see the birthday party. Birthday party. Now I got to go back and see if I saw you. Now, cutting a rug out there, but I did see the party. So, okay. Mm-hmm. So you feel more positive about the Dalton. Really? That's the one I was actually worried about.
No, I think Tiffany will be defeated in February. They have a primary. Thornton Township had a caucus instead of a primary.
Yes. So she'll be okay. Really? So she's gonna be.
There might be a Republican running.
No, there is a Republican
we haven't heard
running.
Of one.
There's a Republican running as well as a independent for Dalton mayor, but it seems like clearly all of the eyes and all of the attention are on Jason House and Tiffany Henyard.
Right.
And the independent is making a little bit of waves, but I think most people are looking at Mr. House and the Clean House team. No, that is amazing. So you actually feel more positive about them than you do about Thornton Township supervisor changing hands. Can I ask why?
Because they're working with the people. I think you viewed Regina Waldrop's documentary, right?
I love Regina Waldrop. Yes. Shout out to Regina.
Yeah,
yes.
In that documentary, she put in a snippet of me saying that I've never experienced a people's movement like this.
Mm-hmm.
So many people in Dalton were united against Tiffany because she did so many things that were blatantly wrong.
Right, for sure.
We made a lot of new friends.
Right.
Although Jennifer and I don't live in Dalton, we were welcomed in the fight. back in like February, March, April, they still needed help telling the world about the criminal organization that had taken over their government.
Wow. I love it. Okay. So, yeah. And I so is Mr. Harris approachable at all? Is he out there campaigning or politicking, glad handing at all?
He's politicking.
Okay.
He has a lot of events,
Gotcha.
a lot of giveaways, but
No, not
he hires a publicist.
gotcha.
He I'm afraid of saying too much. But
Okay.
no,
No,
I
no
don't
problem.
think that I don't think he's approachable. I think that's
Really?
his weak point.
I got you. Okay. Well, if you run into him, you tell him he can come over here. We will talk to him and hopefully help change that demeanor of his. I reached out to the Clean House 2025 team as well. I would love to talk with them. Shout out to Ed Steve. I would love to talk with them and give them an opportunity as well. Because I think at the end of the day, being able to convey your ideas in this type of platform, I think is key and essential.
Mhm.
So hopefully,
Yeah, my wife and I have been to tea with the trustees in Dalton.
okay.
I wish that the Thornton Township trustees had some sort of an open forum with the residents.
Well, when you become a trustee, because we've all wrote you in, Paul, as our you know what, you are the trustee for the undocumented Thornton residents. There you go. There you go. You are the unofficial trustee for the undocumented Thornton residents. So this is our tea with our trustee right here. But no, continue. So you
What
all
makes
like
it
those.
difficult is that Tiffany's IT department monitors Thornton Township email. So I have no way of sending a message to Chris Gonzalez or Carmen Carlisle.
Good gracious, man.
I happen to know someone on Facebook who does have Chris Gonzalez's phone number.
Well, you
And
tell
that's-
Chris, you give Chris my number. Right? I'll send it to you. My goodness, man. We'll start sending things with homing pigeons in a minute. My goodness.
Right.
Smoke signals, light flashing. Like what in the world?
Mhm.
But she can hire IT team, but she cannot turn on the lights in the Thornton Township today.
She didn't want to.
She didn't want to. That's true.
I've heard several theories.
No, I've heard, and it's pretty simple. And I think it's interesting. You know, I'm not trying to disparage the news because we really appreciate Chicago news. But she didn't threaten that they were going to close down City Hall today.
Yes, she did.
In last night's board meeting, I thought she said it's going to happen, but not that it's going to be tomorrow morning.
She made the call soon after the non-meeting was over.
No, I agree with that, but I don't think she said in the non-meeting.
Oh, no, she didn't announce it at
right.
the non-meeting.
That's what I'm talking about.
She hinted at it with a TV reporter yesterday afternoon.
So slimy, so grimy.
But I don't know if it's a purely manufactured crisis, because township buses were driving all around Dalton and Lansing.
Right. So what's going on so important that you can't open up the building, but you can still let the buses run? Like that to me, that's a power play. But if you
No, I think the shutdown was just for show.
Right, that's what I mean.
She was saying, look at all of these people trying to apply for general assistance. They can't get in the door because of these selfish trustees refuse to come to a meeting and vote to pay for the insurance.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the insurance companies cut her off like they did in Dalton.
Right.
Someone else said that the insurance was renewable,
Right.
and it could have been renewed just if all of the trustees agreed to do it by email. But no, she said they had to come to the meeting. They couldn't vote by email. And The other theory that I heard is that the policies were all still in effect and they had been on auto pay, but she told the finance guy to take them off of auto pay. And without the trustees voting to cut checks as part of the general fund, they lapsed.
Wow.
So it could be any of those four scenarios.
I mean, they all sound plausible, but at the end of the day, I'm just hoping and praying that somebody with more sense will get into that position and help bring you all some clarity, some transparency, and such like that. What are businesses like in the township?
It would be so simple if she could just show us the receipts. And I'm sure that there is documentation from the insurance company that would answer this question.
Oh, for sure. Paul, what are businesses like in Thornton? Did you hear me?
It varies by community.
Okay.
It varies a lot by community.
Because I've seen several updates on like small businesses really suffering.
Is much more desolate.
Really?
Small businesses are more common than big businesses.
Got you. Okay.
Industry is pretty much vanished.
Yeah.
Dalton and Harvey have more vacant commercial buildings than most of the neighboring communities.
Wow.
Lansing does a pretty good job of keeping their commercial spaces filled, although we've got a big office tower that's been empty for way too long.
Wow. Okay.
It really depends on the mayor and the trustees and a chamber of commerce.
Got it.
And it hurts when you're denied business licenses just because you speak out against the mayor or you don't contribute to the campaign.
Right. And I've heard multiple stories like that. I've heard a lot of stories about that. So yeah, hopefully that'll turn around, because it seemed like that would be something that you would want to really push, is getting some businesses in here. Do you all have big industries that are even interested in the township area? Any bigger manufacturers or bigger distributors or anything like that, or is it just all smaller franchises and such like that?
Well, there was a huge Amazon warehouse.
I knew it. I knew it was Amazon. I knew it.
On it's Harvey and Markham. I think it's just outside the boundary of Thornton Township.
Okay.
But they were able to cut quite a deal.
Oh, for sure.
On taxes to get there. Lansing lost its largest private employer in the last year, a trucking company.
Okay.
But we still do have Land of Frost. They make lunch meat.
Okay.
Right across the border in Munster, Indiana, is their competitor, Carl Budding.
Yeah.
There's a grocery store, a local grocery store chain, whose anchor store in South Holland closed in October after 80 years. Waltz.
Wow.
They haven't. That space is going to be empty for a while.
Man, okay. Well, no, I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much. Now, if you don't mind, what would be, if you're looking out into 2025, give us your prediction. What's going to be? Well, you kind of told us what you thought about Dalton. What's going to happen in Thornton? Let's go this time next year. So a year from now.
It's too early to tell.
Okay.
If I can be hopeful,
there you go. Be hopeful.
I want the people's movement that so inspired me back in February, March, April to continue.
I love it.
And I hope that Thornton Township elects a supervisor and trustees who have regular meetings with the residents, so they find out what the residents really need that they don't get. Now, currently, we get excellent service from one office in Thornton Township. I think most of the programs are duplicated elsewhere, and people could survive without them. But we've got an assessor's office, and the assessor spends as much time with the client as they need. They work long hours, and basically they tell people how to cut through all of the government bureaucracy to minimize their property tax bills. No one else is doing that. So I hope we continue to have a good assessor's office.
Okay.
But I hope that we have community engagement. It's supposed to happen when the township prepares their annual budget. It didn't happen at all this year. And the budget probably wouldn't have been online if I hadn't gotten a copy from the finance director and given it to the Lansing Journal.
Wow. They haven't had a budget in some time. Am I right? It's been 2 years, I thought.
No, they had one in the year that ended in February of 2024.
Oh, okay.
They had until May 31st to pass the budget for this year through the end of February 2025. And they actually passed the Road and Bridge Fund budget. But the trustees decided to table the big two, the general fund and the general assistance fund.
Got it. Okay. And so those things are not going to be funded, are not funded at this point. Is that?
I think they're using the previous year's budget.
Oh, okay. Okay. I
but
like it.
Tiffany keeps putting the proposed budget on every agenda. The proposed budget would drive, well, it was not balanced. It was either 6 million or 12 million into the red in 1 year, depending on whether grants from the state would materialize.
Wow.
And I know that Chris Gonzalez and Jerry Jones, the trustee who resigned, were trying early on to put together a revised budget with the help of residents. Right. And more recently, Stephanie Wiedemann has been working on putting together a balanced budget. But I don't know if Tiffany has even looked at it. All I know is what I see on the agenda.
I got you. What does Stephanie Wiedemann do now? I thought she used to be her chief of staff, I thought, and she resigned. Right. What does she do now, though?
She was fired.
She was fired.
Right after Tiffany was appointed.
Got it.
She was fired at the same time as the HR director.
Wow. It's amazing when you think back all the different enemies that she's created. She's created her own rogues gallery, because a lot of these people at one point used to be supporters of her, whether it be, Chris Gonzalez or Stephanie Wiedemann or Carmen Carlisle. They used to all support her. Now they're vehemently against her and working hard to unseat her. Which, like, you're making your own rogues gallery. What's up with that? So amazing. Well, I appreciate you. Let me see. I don't see any questions for you, my friend. If you are you good with a couple of questions from the audience?
Sure.
Okay. So if you want to, my lovelies, if you will, the best live chat, put the word question in front of it, and we can get Paul to answer a couple questions. If you're new, if you're just hopping in, my name is Jason, of course. So we have our the trustee of the undocumented Thornton residents, Mr. Paul Robertz, is sitting, and he is a resident of Thornton Township. If you've watched pretty much any video, you've seen him in some way, shape, or form giving Tiffany and her goons headaches. So he's come on today just to give us a lay of the land, help us understand a little bit more of what's going on in Thornton, helping me to stop saying Dalton, all that kind of good stuff like that. He's a great guy. He's straightened me out already. All right, what do we have here? Yes, that's exactly right. So Jennifer, which so happens I spell her name the same way as yours. Paul, do you happen to know this young lady?
Yeah.
She says,
We've been married
anyone
for
who
about
does,
8 years.
I love it. And this is Paul's wife, by the way. Shout out to Jennifer. She says, anyone who doesn't or won't do Tiffany's bidding, she fires. That's absolutely right. Here we go. Got a couple of them. Just Me says, will the trustees have to have a special meeting outside?
Good question. The special meeting could mean a couple of things.
Yeah.
It could just mean a meeting that's not regularly scheduled.
There you go.
We had only one regular meeting in December, and that was supposed to be last night. So trustees Carlisle and Gonzalez today put up an agenda for a special meeting, and it is going to be outside of Thornton Township. It's going to be in Dalton at the Park District Fieldhouse.
Okay.
And they were able to get Clerk Wells to sign off on the agenda. They're going to, I don't know if they'll have a quorum. I hope they do. But that'll be interesting.
Make sure you're there. Make sure you're there.
When I saw special meeting, I was thinking that very soon Clerk Wells has to schedule a special meeting for the purpose of electing our next trustee.
Very much so. Yep. There you go.
That does not have to be outside of township headquarters, but I hope it is, because there's a lot of interest in who the next temporary trustee will be. I think they should have it at South Suburban College basketball court.
Oh,
that
wow.
holds 500. And if it's outside of township headquarters, Tiffany won't feel like she's in control.
Correct.
And the rules of that special meeting are just like the annual meeting in April. The clerk calls it to order. The people elect a moderator, and Tiffany has no more say than any other registered voter in the township.
Very good. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. So real quick, Old Nurse says, question. God bless you, Paul, but how have you been able to watch her in person? I don't think I could handle it. Paul has a strong constitution. How do you do that, Paul?
Well, of course, when I'm speaking, she never looks at me. She looks down at the table and doodles.
That's so annoying.
The last time that I had an opportunity for public comment, she didn't look up until her goons approached me at the podium, and the security guard was letting them shout objections to me.
Wow.
And then she smiled and looked up.
So vile. Thank you so much, Old Nurse Carter. What did we have here? Chris says, question, can Thornton Township get insurance?
Good question. I think before I came on, you showed that Tiffany is required to have a surety bond.
Yes.
And I know that Liberty Mutual insured Tiffany through February of this year.
Okay.
I saw a copy of a surety bond for the current year through February 2025, but the copy that I saw was not signed.
Gotcha.
And just this afternoon, I saw that an insurance company that Dalton has been using refused to insure Tiffany.
Oh.
But they still agreed to insure, others for liability coverage in Dalton.
Gotcha.
That was one of the questions I asked, that, what's the real reason for the shutdown?
You're right. No, that's a great question. Now, you know what, Paul? I forgot. You're a rabble rouser. You're a troublemaker, my friend. Yeah. You know why? Because there's a restraining order. Whatever happened with that restraining order foolishness?
Well,
you're a rebel, man.
Yeah. September 24th, there was a meeting, a township meeting, where Kamal Woods job performance was going to be discussed during closed session.
Oh, wow.
Public comment had been scheduled for after closed session.
Gotcha.
Tiffany moved to have it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She seated her goons first. One of them sat right next to the podium, and he started speaking loudly as soon as I spoke. But I went on speaking, and I said the purpose of this comment is to get Tiffany to act reasonably with the trustees, listen to the people, work with them. And I said, reason is what differentiates humans from the lower animals.
Oh, yes.
And some people thought that I was calling Tiffany a dog. And although I was trying to get her to use her sense of reason and listen to the people in Thornton Township, she told an attorney to go to Markham Courthouse and file an emergency restraining order against me, saying that I gave a speech inciting the public to commit violence against her.
Oh, my.
All she heard is that animals only respond to petting, feeding, or whacking the snout.
Wow. See, I knew you were a
she
troublemaker.
didn't hear the conclusion, which was much more optimistic. So I handed her my comment, typed out on a piece of paper. She's on video walking out of the room with it. But,
wow. Okay. So now we know. Let me ask you this. This is not a question. We got a couple of good questions for you as well, Paul. Why is it that she always refers to the lawyer as the lawyer and not, Paul Robertz, my lawyer, or the lawyer, Paul Robertz? Why is it always the lawyer? Is there a reason?
I think she forgot his name last night.
Oh, gosh. No, but she always does this. She always does this. She did it when Max Solomon was standing next to her. She said, the lawyer.
Okay.
She never refers to him as their name. It's almost like, again, like the guest is here. The guest is speaking. The guest is giving some nice quips. Jason, his name is Paul. Call him Paul. Why does she? It is so weird that she does that. It's okay if you don't know.
Well, no, a lawyer is something that she buys to take her from point A to point B. Do you call your car a name?
Actually, I do.
Oh, okay. Some people do.
my girls
doesn't think she has to name her vehicle.
Oh, my girls have named all our cars. So
okay.
So I have to refer to it by that name. Just what you do. So let's keep you going here. They call that special meeting on Friday at the Dalton Park Fieldhouse. Yeah, there's supposed to be a special meeting. And I think we're looking forward to hearing what happens there. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much there. What do we have here? Hi, Paul. What do you think is the worldwide attention that you, wait, let me start it again. What do you think of the worldwide attention it's getting on YouTube?
Mixed emotions. I think it's great for raising awareness of what's going on. Everyone knows about Thornton Township now.
Wow. Yeah.
But sometimes I think that warring YouTube personalities distract from the real work that needs to be done.
Okay.
The YouTube personality makes it all about them and their show. People forget why they're watching the content.
I got you.
Not every YouTuber can come out with the latest news from Dalton or Thornton Township first.
Okay.
Tiffany is right. There is a lot of pure clickbait on YouTube that's misleading.
Yeah.
You've probably seen lots of teasing videos saying that the FBI has found millions of dollars in Dalton.
Right. When the Andrew Holmes thing happened, there were all these videos of her going to jail. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, no. Well, I appreciate it. There was absolutely no reason for the township to be closed today. Tiff is just throwing a temper tantrum, and I agree. Sandy Howell.
I agree.
Yeah, there was no reason. I think we'll realize it. Kind of like that mystery lawsuit that she filed and then retracted the next day. I don't think that.
Okay.
Say again.
Yeah, you're talking about the lawsuit against Napoleon Harris and the Democratic Committee.
Yep. And I said, I'm just waiting to see if it ever gets refiled. And at the current moment, as far as I know, it hasn't been refiled. And that's probably because it really wasn't a good case to start with. But you can file a lawsuit. You know, you don't need to have good sense to file a lawsuit, but you probably need to have good sense to refile that lawsuit, in my opinion.
I wish it was easier to find out what form of payment her attorneys get.
Oh, I would love to know that. Yeah, now that would be some must-see TV for sure. With how brazen the township and village employees have acted towards residents of late, examples KB and Miss Viv, what recourse does or do the residents have to keep themselves safe in a meeting setting?
Excellent question.
Yeah, excellent, Ryan.
I've spent hours and hours on the phone trying to get the county sheriff present at a Thornton Township meeting. I've written letters to the mayor of South Holland and the police chief of South Holland. I've written to the Illinois State Police. But once my wife, a Dalton trustee and candidate for township trustee, had an audience with our U.S. Congressman, Robin Kelly. Mm-hmm. And we explained the situation. Tiffany wanted to have a 4th of July party on a school lawn.
Yep.
But the school was a construction zone.
Mm-hmm.
The school board said, no way, we're under construction.
Right.
Well, I don't know if it was the school board or the U.S. Congressman, but the Cook County Sheriff was out there, and Tiffany had to have the kids jumping in bubbles on Cottage Grove Avenue instead of the lawn.
Yep.
I wish it was easy to bring in state or local law enforcement. I don't know what it takes. Last week, I asked my state senator, not Napoleon Harris, but LG Sims, and he indicated that he would try to contact, he understands the grave security concerns at Thornton Township meetings.
For sure, yeah.
I think he had heard about Kamal Woods bashing a young township supervisor candidate into the wall when the meeting was in closed session.
Wow.
The South Holland Police says that they will not come to a meeting unless there is, they won't make an arrest unless there's a physical altercation. And there has to be a clear indication that physical altercations are about to happen before they'll show up.
Wow. That's wild. Okay.
But South Holland police are a lot better than Dalton police.
Clearly. Princess Erica says, does Carmen Carlisle still have that restraining order against Tiffany? And if so, is she even allowed to go to the meeting legally?
She never had a restraining order against Tiffany.
Oh,
she has a restraining order against Keith Price.
Oh.
And the day that my wife and I were in court about the restraining order that Tiffany tried to file against me,
mm-hmm.
The same judge heard Carmen Carlisle and Keith Price. Keith Price had an attorney who told the judge that Keith was an elected official in Thornton Township.
Oh.
So the judge assumed that Keith and Carmen were peers and allowed them to be in the same room together.
Gotcha. Wow.
But Keith Price does not need to vote on anything. He's never been authorized by the board to do anything other than manage the food assistance program.
Right. That's all I've seen him do too. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Tiffany said at a meeting that, oh, he does everything that Keith Freeman used to do.
Right. Right. So we got Keith Price in lieu of Keith Freeman.
Right.
Which, by the way, I don't know whatever happened to Keith Freeman.
He's still the village administrator in Dalton.
In Dalton, right? But I don't see him very much.
He doesn't show up at meetings.
Right. There we go.
I've heard that he's been doing a lot of work remotely. Once he tried to get into Village Hall, and William Moore would not let him in.
Wow. Okay, let's keep this going. Thank you, man. That was great. All right. Do you think the FBI is still investigating? What do you think the residents think of the fact that they haven't done anything yet?
I think they're still investigating.
Man.
I mean, all we know is that a grand jury was formed in November of 2023.
Okay, so that's a year. Okay, yeah, that's not that
just
long.
over a year.
Yeah.
These investigations are not quick. I don't think they're dragging their feet, but they have so much to look into that, as I said before, I can't even hazard a guess.
No.
It's disappointing that we haven't seen any results of that investigation.
For
and
sure.
you know full well that the number one question that you get is, why hasn't Tiffany been arrested yet?
I mean, that's definitely up there. That is definitely up there. And I don't know. So, but if you think about it, a lot of the time, things that we see with the FBI, they happen fast because they've been burning really slow for a year, 2 years. So it is very possible that maybe it's serendipitous that she's not on the ballot. That way they don't have to arrest the supervisor, because they might pop up. They might pop up in January. It might pop up in February. So, hey, Sonny, a great question, by the way. And Sonny said there are reports that Lori Lightfoot will deliver her final report on her investigation next month. I guess that's January. Have you heard anything about the dates in January 25 for this meeting?
Haven't heard a specific date yet.
Okay.
I know it's January.
All right, but I've heard January or February as well. So we'll definitely keep our ears to the ground, because that'll be one that we want to hear for sure.
Yep.
And then Peter says this, and this might be a sore spot, but can the mayor or supervisor be recalled?
Definitely.
I don't know if people know this, but Tiffany was recalled within the first year of her being mayor of Dalton. She was recalled, but was it the verbiage? I forgot exactly why, but the judge said that the recall was illegal and didn't remove her. Was it because of the verbiage? I forgot what exactly.
No, I think the judge's reason was you cannot recall an official unless you already had a recall mechanism in place. And the Dalton trustees had two referenda items on the ballot. One was, do you want to allow the citizens to recall an official? And two was, do you want to recall Tiffany Henyard?
Ah, I got you. Yeah.
So this is about the time when the Thornton Township trustees would approve referendum questions for the ballot. I don't know how many months in advance it has to be, but I know that last December, Tiffany was afraid that people would try to put on the ballot a question establishing a recall mechanism for officials in Thornton Township. A township is only allowed 3 referendum questions.
Right.
So she chose 3 of them, so her opponents couldn't sneak in anything else. One was a tax increase for mental health. One was raising the price of senior meals from $1.50 to $2. And the other one was establishing a second food pantry within Thornton Township. The second food pantry actually passed, but the other 2 failed.
That is wild. And I heard about that she keeps stacking the referendums so that, because if they're empty, somebody will put in something that maybe she didn't want. So
Right.
that is wild. Man, Paul, that was great. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Now, anything that you want us to look out for, or what would you say that myself and the best live chat on the internet could actually do to support Thornton as well as Dalton? What would you say we could do, or what can we do?
Keep putting out the word that average citizens can make a difference. Now, my wife and I have become are very active in township politics, just as volunteers.
I love it.
We're not trying to get a seat in the administration, but it's been worthwhile because so many total strangers said, hey, you guys have inspired me to show up at my local council meetings and speak for 2 minutes saying, why are you doing this? It appears so wrong.
Right.
Public engagement is what should drive politics.
I can dig that. I can dig it. I love it. Well, thank you, man. Paul.
We're getting close to election time, so I'm afraid that what was, once a wonderful people's movement is going to devolve into dirty politics with negative campaigning.
Right.
And it's one camp versus another.
Well, hopefully you're not, because we definitely want to support and encourage good, clean dialogue and good, clean engagement. So hopefully it won't. But y'all are downstream from Chicago, so you are going to have to take what you get. A lot of stuff blows off that Lake Michigan, so you just got to take what you get. Thank you so much, old Nurse Carter. Thank you so much. And I love how she said, thank you for the $2 super. She says, thank you all for your hard work. Yeah, we really appreciate you, Paul. Believe it or not, we really do appreciate what you're doing to keep the community engaged, as well as just being a voice. And thank you for coming on tonight to talk to us and give us some of your insight, your boots on the ground experiences, and hopefully a little bit of hope for 2025. We'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. But I'll tell your wife, thank you so much for reaching out. You are welcome. If you ever want to talk about anything, you want to talk about budgets, you want to say, hey, I found the insurance claim or whatever, you know where to find me. You are welcome.
Okay.
Live chat on the internet for sure.
Will do. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate you. And tell your wife, thank you again. And we'll see you next time, my friend.
Okay.
Take care, friend. Grace and peace. All right. So that was Paul Robertz, the trustee for the undocumented Thornton and Dalton residents. So thank you so much to Paul and his lovely wife, Jennifer, for agreeing to come on today. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot of good insight. Thank you all for the great questions, great commentary back and forth. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you got something that you didn't know. Again, get that boots on the ground experience, I think, is really vital. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But everybody, I'm going to get ready to bug out of here. Lady Dear Woke Christian just came home. I hear them talking loud in the kitchen. So we're going to go cause some trouble in there, see what they got going on. But everybody, we'll be back again real soon. I thank you all. And until then, grace and peace. Take care.
Yo, hit that like for deal with Christian. Yo, for deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian. For deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian.